Welcome to the Ripple Effect by the Alliance. We are committed to raising the frequency of our planet. We'll discuss hot topics, share practical tools and sacred frequencies to reveal the magic in your life. Come laugh, cry, and have fun with us.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ripple Effect podcast. We are so excited to have you here. Myself, Sarah, Hannah, and Stacia, we are the Alliance. And this week we have, this week we have a juicy topic. We wanted to chat with you guys about how to stay strong when everything around you feels like it's crumbling. And we're going to talk more about what we mean, things you might be hearing in the news or things happening in your own vicinity, and just the things that we do to help us. We're not invincible. Like those things impact us, right? And we even kind of waited a bit, right, to do this subject because we were like, it didn't feel aligned. And then when we were chatting, we said, you know what, there's always going to be something, and it's best to share the tools for how we get through that, so it can help all of you, hopefully. So that's what we're going to be chatting about today. And for this episode, I'm going to hand it over to Hannah first, to dive into this a little deeper.
Hello, everybody. Well, we wanted to tackle this subject. Was it last week or a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
And I can't in good conscience sit here and preach to people how they can get on with it, how to not let their energy drop, and how to stay strong, because I'm really down. Things are really getting to me. So until I can be 100% sure that what I am, like, I have to walk my talk. And so this week, interestingly enough, I said, I can do it this week. I've gone through the period where I was tested enough, and I was able to hold my energy. I was able to stay in gratitude and stay optimistic and positive, even though really, truly, lots of things were happening around me, with other people, with my family, with some friends, in the news. I mean, we hear about all these things, and I was able to really hold it together. So I said, now I can talk about it. Now we can tell people that it can be done. And it reminds me of the story of the Dalai Lama, where people go, I don't remember, frankly, if it was the Dalai Lama or Gandhi, but it was one of these incredibly enlightened beings, and people would wait for hours and sometimes days to come and stand in front of them and ask them for something, or just, ask them for advice. And there's a story about this mom that took her boy with her, and they waited. Once they get in front of this man, she asks, can you tell my son to stop eating sugar? And the answer was, come back next week. And she couldn't believe it, because she had to travel 2 days to get there. So she had to go back, come back. Finally, the next week she shows up, and when they come in front of him, he says to the boy, stop eating sugar. And the mom loses her cool, says, how dare you tell him what I asked you to do last week? Why didn't you tell him that last week? I mean, all you did is tell him not to eat sugar. And he said, because last week I was still eating sugar. So for us, last week, I think we all were still eating sugar.
Yeah. Up until yesterday, I feel like I was still eating sugar. Today, the stars aligned for today. Yeah.
right? And so, yeah, whenever, and the other thing I was just saying to you all, when the pandemic started, I asked you all one day, if you hadn't watched the news, if you were completely disconnected, would you know that there was this thing going on? And the answer was categorically no.
Yep.
And now I can ask all of us the same thing. If we weren't connected, if we weren't listening to social media, if we weren't listening to our friends sending us messages, and if we weren't just connected in that way, because it's funny, I've been saying, well, I haven't watched the news in 30 years. I haven't watched the regular media, but if I count social media, at this point, that's my news. That's what I'm feeding my brain with.
Yeah.
Right? Everything that I get, that the algorithm is selectively sending me. So if you go into somebody else's account and start looking at their feed, you're going to notice that it could be completely different, or if you all talk a lot, how it could be very much alike.
Yes, I was just saying this today because I noticed that my feed had changed. And normally I follow like other coaches, fellow coaches, peers, ones that I'm, maybe wanting to work with, ones that I have worked with, my clients. And I noticed that my feed, I was scrolling through and I was like, what the fuck is my feed? I'm like, I'm not seeing any of that. And it was also like I felt I was in that weird energy for a bit too. And I was like, I noticed like the disconnect there. And I was like, my feed out, my algorithm completely changed based on like things that I wasn't looking at, things that I was looking at. And I was like, oh, it was like a wake-up call. I was like, oh, I want to fix this. I don't like this, this energy, this vibe. I'm like, this is what I'm seeing and calling in. And it's more than just seeing the news every night at 7 p.m. It's worse because we're always on our phones. You're always seeing it, like it's in your face all the time. So yeah, like it's something. Oh, it's like we have to be so aware of what we're consuming, because even if you're mindlessly scrolling, like you're seeing it, but you're not. Like it's embedding in you, right? It's like programming you.
Discernment is key, because so many people fall into the trap of, oh, well, I'm scared, and look at this. This is something to be scared of. And then they just feed it to them. It's almost like they know, like, oh, she read that article, let's send her another one.
Yes.
It's just crazy how much,
or even
negative,
if someone sends it to you and you click on it. Yeah.
Now I'm going to get controversial. I'm usually not the one controversial here, but
Ooh,
one of
I'm
the
on the edge of
reasons
my
that I
seat.
kind of stay away from TikTok is, if you're over in China, you get educational, wonderful TikToks. If you're here in America, you get the stupidest, bottom of the barrel bunch of morons that they just continuously send you. And then people sit there and they can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
And I just haven't subscribed to that. I'm like, I can't do that.
Me neither.
Now, if I was to find a channel of all puppies, I'm a sucker for animals. But, the things that I was seeing in the schools, kids doing these ridiculous pranks. And I'm like, why can't we have an algorithm that's educational and good for us? Instead, this is what we have.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what we're inundated with our news,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, but not only that, we're calling it in.
Yes.
Because the algorithm is set by what we are choosing to watch and listen to.
Yeah.
And you want to hear a funny story? You know how I've been off Facebook for so long? For a year now, and I just go in when I just absolutely have to, but I miss everything. It's like, and it's interesting because I have zero FOMO, right, about it. I just like, I miss this again. Oh, I miss that again. Oh, I miss this again. And I went back in the other day because I had a class with someone. And
That's why I was laughing. I'm like, oh yeah,
yeah,
she only comes in for me.
but I started scrolling and I
Oh.
had the most insane, unrelated to me feed. All of it were, first of all, ads,
Yes.
sports things about football and
They know you.
basketball and baseball. And I was like, what is I started laughing because I thought I have to build my
Yep.
my feet again by the choices that I start making and
Yeah.
what I stop to look at.
Yep.
They're just
So
giving you everything.
They're like, maybe she likes this.
Very strange, all about sports and things like that I have never scrolled on. So my whole feed, none of my friends were on there, none of them. And you know how you get periods of you only see these 10 friends, and then all of a sudden it changes that you get another 10 friends, and then you stop seeing the ones that you even like. And it's like, I haven't seen my friend, but there's so many that you lose track if you're not continuously checking on it, which I am definitely not. But I really noticed the contrast between the feed that used to be when I was on it all the time to the feed that is now when I'm not. And if we go back to what you focus on expands, then what are each one of us calling into our feed? So, you know, expanding on discernment, what expectations do we have for our life? And I know it's gone from social media and what we get in to our general life, because if we set up standards for excellence in our life, then what we're going to get is going to do a quantum leap, and we're going to get more things that are in alignment with who we want to be, who we know we are maybe inside, and we're in the process of becoming. And also when we our reticular activating system, which is that network of neurons I talk about all the time, starts looking for those things everywhere and bringing them in. So if I start focusing on all the things that are going wrong in the world, I will get all the proof I need and more.
Yep.
It will arrive at my doorstep so that I can be right, because we humans love being right. And so it's like, I knew it. You know, the world is, how do they say, it's going to hell in a handbasket?
Yep.
That's right.
Hell in a handbasket.
And
in a TikTok dance.
yeah, don't get me started on the TikTok stupidity, because you know, we have no pill for stupid yet.
And it could be so good. That's just it
is so good.
It's like it's so much good, but then it's like, well, let's
it is
give
very
you this.
good in China.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Why is that?
Right. And without getting too deep, I saw an article about the psychology of it. And, you know, so much manipulations going on with, you know, all platforms where they're really, you know, they're making kids feel so bad about themselves. And then things are just not as they seem, which is kind of life, except they don't know anything else because they've spent so much extra time behind that screen, you know, with everything that we just went through. And it's just really sad that, you know, there's probably going to be new psychological diagnoses coming out of this, you know, time of that we just are emerging from because of everything that these kids have gone through. And now they just don't really know any better. It's like, just like you said, they're ready for that bad. Oh, that's depressing.
Yeah.
Oh, I can never be like that. Oh, look, you know, it's just keeping them in this really low vibration. And we're going to tell you how to get out of that.
Yes. Holy.
Yes.
Yeah.
When we start getting all this information that is so low vibrating stuff, it is very difficult to sustain the high vibration. Now, I was always told that the higher vibration would entrain the lower vibration up to meet it. And something in that statement used to make me go, things that make you go, And that was one of them. I was like, that doesn't ring true to me. And as I did more experimentation with frequency, and vibration and water and all of the crazy things that I do all the time, I noticed that it was not the higher frequency, but the strongest frequency. Yeah. And the stronger frequency is going to either bring you down or take you up, depending on what that frequency is. And in order to become the stronger frequency, so that you can be vibrating at a high vibrational level, at a level of peace at least, or love, gratitude, joy, these energies that are so light and airy and beautiful, it also has to be very, very strong. But how do you get there? How do you get there? You guys can share. How do you guys stay strong?
Ooh, well, for me, I'm really big into movement. I do a lot of breath work, yoga. Obviously, I do jujitsu 400 times a week, and I'm at the gym. But it's not so much that I'm there to body build, because I got these muscles, but that I'm just I'm moving that energy. And while I'm moving that energy, I'm actually consciously processing things. So if something's going on in my life, I'm stressed out, I'm going to give myself that time to really feel it. And then I'm just kind of letting it go. It's almost like a workout meditation is what I do. But the breath work is really my go-to, because that can help anyone. And, we've all been there before. It's like when you're upset, someone will say, take a breath, it's like, take that breath in. It's like you're oxygenating yourself, and it's actually allowing your brain to kind of start seeing that, okay, we're safe, because immediately we want to, fight, flight, freeze. Like we're ready to do something. So just having that pause of, okay, this is bad, but let me take a breath, and then let me just try to get more back to myself, instead of being with, whatever it is that's trying to bring you down. I think it's really, really beneficial to start there. And then whatever really feels good for people, that somatics, I can't really say enough about it. Moving your body is really moving your energy, and really moving that energy is how you can let go of some of that stuff that could be anchoring you down.
Yeah.
So.
Oh man. Well, as you're talking, I relate to that. For me, my instinct sometimes is to go to if I'm feeling that pressure or whatever, I got to take a moment, but I can't take it too long, because I'll go into that hidey hole flight mode, self-sabotage. Okay, I could easily, not easily, but it once was really easy, and I'm like, wow, I could see where I could slip back into that if I let myself, right? And I just keep thinking how grateful I am that I went on the journey that I did before COVID began, right? Because I would have spiraled. I would have been that person who was just crumbling while everything was around me. So the things that I do now, one, I yes, I get it, take a moment, but then I like what you said, where it's but then do something. I'm not going and doing jiu-jitsu or working out, but for me, okay, I will either go change my space, change my area, or I'll go like kind of like a quick reset, like say, oh, I'm going to go to town and get like you know, a special tea or coffee or something, and then bring it back and like reset myself. But then I go into, okay, and now I'm going to do some sort of action, something that's going to propel me forward. And for me, you guys know, I go into my like planner structure mode. For me, it's like, what is something that I can do to feel like I am one step further? I've achieved something, I've accomplished something. Because for me, it might not be going to the gym and accomplishing a workout, but it's like, what can I do that makes me feel like, yeah, I feel really good. Like shit might be crumbling around me, but they're not taking me down. I got this one thing done and I feel like I've accomplished something, right? Or even now with like our walks that my mom and I go on. I'm laughing because the lady knows the story that happened right before, but it's like it's like it's like I'm doing something that's like, okay, I feel like even if I did nothing else today, I've done this one thing that makes me feel stronger, whether it's physically, mentally, in my business, whatever it is. And it's like my, instead of like reaction mode, it's my response mode to just be like, okay, what is that one thing I'm going to do after I take my breath? Because otherwise I'll stay there too long.
I love that.
Hannah, what do you do?
Yeah. Well, me, you guys know, I go into meditation.
Mhm.
I go immediately to gratitude. And the practice that changed my life was so simple. It came from Sarah Van Branach from a book called Simple Abundance. It is a book that is wonderful. The story of the lady is interesting. We're not going to get into that today, but I learned from that book to have a notepad by my nightstand, and upon waking, I would write 5 things that I'm grateful for. And right before I go to bed, write 5 things that I'm grateful for. There was a time in my life when I started doing this that I would have days that I would find one thing to be grateful for, and I wrote that thing 5 times.
I like that.
And it evolved to writing pages and pages of things, because at the end I was like, thank you for the blue sky.
Yes.
Thank you for the clouds. Thank you for the little birds and the rain and you start really becoming great. The gratitude becomes your state of being, where every little thing you can notice and see the goodness in it.
Mhm.
Because our tendency is to be complainers and find everything that's going wrong. That complainer thing was inherited to me through generations. And one day he told me, you just complain about everything. And I was so offended. This was about 35 years ago. I was highly offended by her and by the fact that she said that. And then I noticed that I hadn't been aware that I did that. And how many things do we do each day that we're not even aware that we do them until some nice person, or not so nice, points it out to us. But then what we choose to do with it is our prerogative. Yeah. Right? How we choose to deal with it. And when I saw that in myself, I was like, ooh, I don't like that. And the fact that I did it unconsciously made it even worse for me, because I was like, what else am I doing that I don't even know that I'm doing that is creating the results I'm having in my life? So I started doing this practice, and it turned my entire life on its head. And now whenever I feel that, life is unfair, or that, I'm getting the short end of the stick, or whatever it is, or I go into a really sad mode because I feel that we're gonna, as a humanity, we're going to be extinct pretty soon. And I can easily go down that rabbit hole and down that spiral of, oh my God, what are we gonna do? But then what I do also is I walk out this on the street and I look at people and I'm like, okay, does it look like we're gonna disappear right now? And focus on the right now
Mhm.
instead of projecting and taking myself out of the present and just being in the past or in the future, but not in the moment. And the point of power for each one of us is in this very moment now, and now, and now, and now. So being able to stay in that present, calming your nervous system down, whether by breath work, exercising, changing your state,
Mm. Yeah.
right? And being grateful, then you can create a whole new reality for yourself. Even if we do blow ourselves up, but at least until that moment, we'll be happy. Or as
Exactly.
happy as we can be. I know Stacey's
Yes.
cracking up. But you know, what control do we have over that?
Mm-hmm.
And is worrying going to change the outcome?
Nope.
No.
Nope. Yeah. Exactly. You could expend the same energy, right? And when you said that, I was like, yes, oh my God, gratitude. That's something that I notice the more, like I practice my gratitude every morning. I have like my aunt and I are accountability buddy, but I notice when I'm in it more and when I'm like more aware of it or like appreciating more things. And I notice when I'm like doing that more and when I'm doing it less, and I notice around me the difference, and even like my point of view on things, or when I am being like grumpy about something, right, or going to that like negative mode, as opposed to seeing the positive and looking at the brighter side of it. It's amazing. It's that it has like that big of an impact, but like how freaking easy it is to do. Like that little thing can change your whole day, your whole outlook, your whole experience on life. Wasn't it
And your
you?
social media.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
didn't you send me, I think it was you, Hannah, you sent me the video. Oh man, was it you? And it was like, the guy's like, did you have a bad day or did you have a bad minute that you dragged out for a whole day?
Right.
Was that you who sent me
Yes,
that? I
I
loved
said
that. I'm like, oh my God, like that hit me. I was like, that's so true. We do that, right? And it's like, imagine if you took that good thing and melted the way you do a shitty moment, right? Because we have those
yeah,
good
it's
moments.
exactly the same thing.
It
But
is.
we're such experts at milking all the bad stuff.
Yep.
And then the good stuff is like a blip.
It's a
And it
blip.
just goes blip, blip, blip. And it's all the good things are like blipping through. Meanwhile, we're dragging ourselves through the mud and the muck,
Yep.
and where we could flip it around and the bad stuff could become that blip.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Things
Oh
that
my
make you go,
God. Okay. So I love all that. I think we each gave like such a powerful, I don't want to muddy the waters. I think those are powerful things that everybody can take away from this episode. And I feel better just like I already was feeling better, but I feel better just us talking about these things,
Right.
you know, and how it's like, oh yeah, and it's so simple really to put these things into place. Like it doesn't take like this big, huge effort really. It's just like switching it, flipping the switch the other way. Yeah.
redirecting.
Redirecting. That's a great way to say it. Stacia, do you have a quote of the day for us?
I do have a quote.
Yeah, quote of the day.
I think that this one is really going to speak to what we just talked about, because everyone's going to have their own way of feeling, their own way of being. And I found this quote from an Indian sage from he was born in the 1800s, because you know how I love to go back in time.
Yes.
And he said, your own self-realization is the greatest service you can render the world. And that is Ramana Maharshi. And I was like, yeah, because we put so much emphasis on what we think the world needs us to be, when it's really we're creating this world. And when you're not doing that, you are doing a disservice to those around you, because as we lift ourselves up, we're lifting others up with us.
Yes,
So
exactly. Oh, yeah, that's so true. We didn't even really touch on like how like that ripple effect that it has. And I mean, it was implied, but I love that you brought that up because um if someone around me is like, if I like, it would be so easy for two people to just go like, oh, this happened.
just
Oh, like Hannah was saying, if people are sending you things and that's what you're opening up, it's just so easy to just go down the rabbit hole, as opposed to, oh, you know what? But what about this? Like, have you thought about it this way? Have you tried this? Right. And sometimes we're open to that and sometimes we're not. That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, it's different. But what if we, if you start focusing on, all the creativity that came out of the pandemic,
Mhm.
because out of these 3 years, a lot of magical stuff has come out of it.
Mhm.
A lot of it. So we could technically just devote our life to focus on all the incredible stuff, but
Yeah.
no, it would be too easy.
Oh, that's funny. All right. Well, thank you everybody for being here on another episode. If you are watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. And if you're listening on Spotify, please rate and review us. We hope to see you on the next episode. And yeah, we'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.
I
Thank you for tuning in to The Ripple Effect by The Alliance with Hannah Martinez,
Stacia Stove.
And Sarah Jane Lita. We hope you're now vibing high and ready to create your own ripple.
Drop a comment or email to let us know the ripple effect that you are creating.
Music by our very own Hannah Martinez and music production by Onel Moulet.
Follow us on Instagram at The Ripple Effect Pod for more high vibration content. Please rate and review us wherever you listen.
Until next time.